here. All right. All right. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we are, let me put this, I will share my screen. I have the verses here. Let's see here. See if everybody, oops. Oops. Me. Here we go. And can everybody see that? So we're reading from Srimad-Bhagavatam, Canto 9, Chapter 22, verses 26 to 32. Okay. So everyone can see this, right? Okay, good. All right. I'm just trying to minimize this here. I'll read the English for verse 26, and on 32, I'll read the Sanskrit. Dhritarashtra's wife, Gandhari, gave birth to 100 sons and 1 daughter, O king. The oldest of the sons was Duryodhana, and the daughter's name was Dushala. So these are, I think we're familiar with some of these. These are from the Mahabharata. This is the lineage of Bharata. So these are some of our very familiar names from the Mahabharata. 9:22, 27 to 28. Pandu was restrained from sexual life because of having been cursed by a sage, and therefore has 3 sons, Yudhishthira, Bhima, Arjuna, and Arjuna were begotten through the womb of his wife Kunti by Dharmaraj, by the demigod controlling the wind, and by the demigod controlling the rain. Pandu's second wife, Madri, gave birth to Nakula and Sahadev, who were begotten by the 2 Ashwini Kumaras. The 5 brothers, headed by Yudhishthira, begot 5 sons through the womb of Draupadi. These 5 sons were your uncles. So these are this is the family of Maharaj Parikshit. So these are the 5 sons. The 5 sons through the womb of Draupadi are called the Upapandavas. So I have some images here. This kind of a comparison of the 2 depictions of Mother Draupadi, or Kunti, I think rather Kunti, when she asks for sons, and this particular one is Surya visiting her and then giving forth the son of Surya is Indra is Arjuna. Surya is Bhima. Who's does everyone remember the son of Surya? Dharmaraj is Yudhishthira. Bhima, Kula, Sadhu, from Madri. Yeah, anyway. So Karna. It's Karna. Karna, yes. Not one of the 5 Pandavas, but this is anyway, I thought it was nice to see the 2 depictions. And then so in verse 9:22-29, from Yudhishthira came a son named Prativindya, and from Bhima a son named Shrutasena, and from Arjuna a son named Shrutakirti, and from Nakula a son named Satanika. This is also this is a depiction of the also from the Mahabharata and the Bhagavatam. This is where Ashwatthama releases the the weapon,
Brahmastra?
the Brahmastra that, sorry, my mind is, it's been an early morning. The Brahmastra weapon, which Arjuna is able to recall. I just like seeing these older depictions of these Mahabharata pastimes. So this is after he had actually, Ashwatthama had killed the Upapandavas in their sleep after the war. And so as he was running, he released the Brahmastra, which was threatening to destroy the world. And so you can see on the picture on the right, the caution, the fear of the demigods. You have Narada there. They're just, there's some fear that the destruction of this weapon. After of course, the weapon is recalled and controlled by Arjuna. They capture Ashwatthama, and that there's a punishment that the jewel of his he adorns is removed. He's basically stripped of his status as a warrior. I heard when I went to school in India, some of my classmates were Gujarati, and they told me that when they lived when they lived back in the kind of village, the grandparents would warn them if they misbehave, that Ashwatthama was going to get them. He said there's a legend that he would wander from village to village asking for ghee to soothe the wound of the missing jewel. That's what they told me. I was like, whoa, that's quite a story for children to grow up with. Let's see. Right. So next. O king, the son of Sahadev was Shrutakarma. Furthermore, Yudhishthir and his brothers begot other sons and other wives. Yudhishthir begot a son named Devaka through the womb of Pauravi, and Bhimasena begot a son named Gatotkacha through his wife Hidimba, and a son named Sarvagata through his wife Kali. Similarly, Sahadev had a son named Suhotra through his wife named Vijaya, who was the daughter of the king of the mountains. This is Gatotkacha. Also, again, I like the different depictions of Gatotkacha. That's him in the Amar Chitra comics. But he is a very selfless warrior, the son of Bhimasen. He had been, while the Pandavas were in exile, a demon king named Hidimba had wanted to kill them and eat the Pandavas, while Hidimbi to bring them to him. But Hidimbi had fallen in love when she saw Bhima, and when Hidimba had heard this, he came to attack the Pandavas, and he was killed by Bhima. And Hidimbi asked if she could be married to Bhima, and in their relation, they had Gatotkacha. Gatotkacha in the Kurukshetra war, he was supposed to be equal to Karna in prowess, but when Karna had one weapon that he could only use once, but whoever he used it on would die. And he knew that Arjuna, they knew that if they lost Arjuna to Karna, the battle would be lost. So Krishna asked Gatotkacha if he would fight Karna. And Gatotkacha even though he knew that the use of that weapon would end in his death, and he was such a valiant warrior that they fought to that level, he still fought. And he used the weapon, and Karna was without the one major weapon that he needed. So Ghatotkach in that way sacrificed himself very bravely in the war. So this is today's verse, 9:22-32. Karenam numatyam nakulo naramitram tatarjana iravantam ulupyam vai sutayam babru vahanam manipura patreso pi tata putra putraka sutaha. Nakula begot a son named Naramitra through his wife named Kananumati. Similarly, Arjuna begot a son named Iravan through his wife known as Ulupi, the daughter of the Nagas, and a son named Babruvahana by the womb of the princess of Manipur. Babruvahana became the adopted son of the king of Manipur. Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. It is to be understood that Parvati is the daughter of the king of the very, very old mountainous country known as the Manipur state. 5,000 years ago, therefore, when the Pandavas ruled, Manipur existed, as did its king. Therefore, this kingdom is very old, aristocratic, Vaishnava kingdom. If this kingdom is organized as a great success, because for 5,000 years, this state has maintained its identity. If the Vaishnava spirit is revived there, it will be a wonderful place, renowned throughout the entire world. Manipuri Vaishnavas are very famous in Vaishnava society. In Vrindavan and Navadvip, there are many temples constructed by the king of Manipur. Some of our devotees belong to the Manipur state. The Krishna consciousness movement, therefore, can be well spread in the state of Manipur by the cooperative efforts of the Krishna conscious devotees. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshuru Vishnu Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupam Gadamayam Tatati Swapadanti Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sabrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sujivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Rijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakalpataruvescha Kripa Sindhu Vyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So I'd like to thank the assembled devotees. I especially like to thank our senior Vaishnavas, Adipurush Prabhu and Arjuna Prabhu, if he is here. Thank you so much for your continued encouragement and blessings. And I pray that I may speak something of enjoyable to the Vaishnavas. And I hope to hear also from you also. I think it's also interesting that Ananda Bihari, and I know it's just a coincidence, not maybe, I know some people have said that, but this verse is something that's there's not many purports like this about a specific state. I have a special relationship with Manipur myself. As I travel through India, many times people think I'm Manipuri. And I've used that I've used that actually. Manipur also has a very has been very helpful to me in my visit to certain temples like Jagannath Puri. And the first time I went to Jagannath Puri, I had known, living in the temple, that I'd met a Manipuri. He said, "You look just like my brother." And I realized that there are Indians that look like Asian, Southeast and Southeast Asian. And so I went to school in Delhi for a year and a half, and I kind of got to know a little bit more about the culture. I would say that.
Kulaji, how old were you when you went to school in Delhi?
I was 20. I think it was 22.
Okay.
22.
Okay.
This is 2000, around 2000. And one of my classmates was from Columbia University. It was a study abroad program. And he said he was going to Puri, Bengal and Puri. And so we're still good friends. He had very, he was from California, but he spoke Paka Hindi. And we went to the first Bengal, and then I went to Bhubaneswar and then Puri. And he was doing research of Jesus in India. So he wanted to check the library records of Jagannath Puri temple to see evidence of that. They wouldn't let him, but go into even the library. Me, I didn't tell him that my intention that morning was that I was going to go to Jagannath, the temple, to go inside. And so I had let my hair, at the time I would shave my head like very close, but I let it grow out a little. And I wore my dhoti a little different. I loosened my neck beads. I didn't wear the Gaudiya tilak because I thought they would think I was ISKCON. And I went, and that was my plan. I went in, I just got off the rickshaw and I went as if, nothing. I went straight to the door. I think I got it. This is fine. And then just right at the door, the chokidar, the guard, just like put his stick down and he said, "No." He's like, no foreigner allowed. And because I kind of rehearsed this, and I said in Hindi, "Koi baat nahi bhaiya." No problem, brother. Main Manipuri hu. I said that I'm from Manipur. And then he said, "Manipuri? Manipuri hai?" And then he said, "Ek minute. And he called like 5 pandas to come, and they surrounded me. And they asked me all these questions about, where are you from in Manipur? And they were just, "What are you doing?" I was saying, "Well, Manipuri ho." I remember even now when I think about it, I get nervous because I was trying to like string together these Hindi phrases. And, at the time, Manipur, it is a great Vaishnava state, but there's been a lot of like Maoist rebellions. And as you'll see here, this is a map of where Manipur is. To the left is India. And then all the way to right is Manipur. It's separated by Bangladesh. It's quite, now we would say it's separated by Bangladesh, but this was all, Bangla, And so you could see how it spread around there and how Vaishnavism came to Manipur. But Manipur, at the time that I was there were these separatist movements. They were trying to separate from India, as was other places like Nagaland. So there were these like rebellions there. And so when they said, are you from Manipur? I'd said in Hindi, "Kya Manipur Bharat ka hissa nahi hai?" Which means, wait, isn't Manipur still a part of India? So they called it like, "Oh, I have a friend from Manipur," and they called him over. And I was like, "Oh my God, I'm really going to get in trouble." But they asked me a few questions. I said, "My mother is from Manipur and my father is from Nepal." And then one of the pundits just grabbed my hand and he said, "Chalo, let's go." And he brought me inside to the temple. And he took me first to the Garuda Stamba, where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself had fallen, had been at the feet of and touched, and he told me to touch my head to this stamba, touch your head to this stamba. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu touched this stamba, and then he brought me to see Jagannath, Baladev, and Subhadra, and it's just like it was a very overwhelming experience. And we went through the different parts of the temple, and before I knew it, I was back outside and very thankful. I think he knew that I was not Manipuri. I'd like to think that, because of all the questions, and he just said, let's just go. And he gave me his blessing, and I gave him some dakshin, and that was my thing. So a lot through my time in India, it was easier for me to identify as either Manipuri or Nepali, because sometimes it was just ease of interaction with a lot of people if they just assume that. It's not, in many ways, it's not genuine, but it was, it just happened to be a much easier way to interact. And nowadays I won't, it's much easier for me to just be, Kula Pradipa from New Jersey. But back then I was traveling by myself, and it was easier for me to interact with so many people. So that's my a little bit of, I also wanted to share a little bit of the Vaishnava culture in Manipur. Just what I'd known and what I've always come to be interested in. It's not easy to go to Manipur. You have to have special permits to go up into the northeast. But here we have some just basic fundamental things. Is Vaishnavism was brought by Rajarishi Bhagya Chandra. He is the king. We know him as Jai Singh Maharaj. Nara Singh, who is, I put the dates here from 1748 to 1799. It's because of Jai Singh Maharaj, Bhagya Chandra, that Vaishnava culture had come into, well, it had been there, but he specifically was a patron of Chaitanya Gaudiya Vaishnavism. And as you can see, he was a disciple of Narottam Das Thakur's disciple. So this influence of Gaudiya Vaishnavism became very prominent. And if you were ever look up Prabhupada and type in Prabhupada and Manipur, Prabhupada has a lot to say about Manipur, especially regarding his Manipuri disciple, a very prominent disciple, Bhakti Swarup Damodar Maharaj, who was a scientist, a sannyasi, a guru. And if you go to Radhakund, now you still see a lot of like Manipuri temples, and one of the temples of Bhakti Swarup Damodar Maharaj is there also. And I believe his Samadhi is there also. So the story about Maharaj Jai Singh is that as a king, he was facing a lot of challenges. There were a lot of people trying to unseat him. And he prayed to Lord Govinda for guidance, to Krishna for guidance. And the story goes that Govinda appeared to him in a dream and told him to enter into this royal arena wearing a garland, like a maha garland, and holding japamala. And that was, and then Govinda in dream said that you will win the favor and win the royal court. And he did that. They said, the dream also said that he had become the king of Manipur, if he did that. And when he becomes the king, he has to install Govinda, a Murti of Govinda. And so Jai Singh did this. And as he became the king, he not just installed the deity of Govindaji, he also started this tradition of the Ras Lila, dancing and the culture and drama in Manipur. So sometimes you'll see this. I remember they used to come to Rath Yatra. There's these Manipuri dancers. I've seen them in other events too. And a specific type of kirtan that's very distinct to Manipur with very, very, very regional dress. So it's very beautiful. That deity is there today. So after this, Nara Singh, who is here, he's the one who made the temple for Govindaji. So it was Jai Singh Maharaj who installed the deity. Nara Singh had made the temple to Govindaji. And so here are the deities from Impal in the Govindaji temple. First, it's Balaram and Krishna. There's 3 altars. And then you'll see Jagannath, Baladev, and Subhadra, very, very big eyes. And then the main darshan is Shri Radha Govindaji. And here's a more clear picture of them. So it's nice, very, very unique, very beautiful deities. So let's see. So they said a nice darshan. I just got these photos. There's only a few photos online, but beautiful. So that was through the patronage of the king, the state became a Vaishnava state that became the official faith, the official religion of Manipur. And the king was very inspiring too. So many people, he was a trusted leader, and he gave much to the Manipur people culturally, in terms of sovereignty. He was a very, very wise ruler. But so let's see, we have 743. I wanted to take the influence that came from to the Manipur. We trace back to our Acharya, Narottam Das Thakur. So Manipuri Vaishnavism has a lot of indebtedness to Narottam Das Thakur. So this is a very famous picture of Narottam Das Thakur, Shyamananda Pandit, and Srivas Pandit. There's something notable about this era of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. These Narottam Das Thakur he had appeared about 50 years after the time of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So this is a very kind of like a transitionary period, a period where the faith, like the tradition is being carried on, and it's something to pay attention to, because when many great Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his associates, there was a time of like, how is the tradition to be carried through? And so I think a lot of that is conveyed in the works of these 3 acharyas and where they spread. And it's relevant to us because, again, this is very much in the same mood of Srila Prabhupada. And so I'd like to take a little time to look at some of the prayers and songs of Narottam Das Thakur. So I'll stop this here. Let's see, I have more things here. Here we go. So here are some of the prayers, but I think I wanted to start first with this, in the mood of separation is one of my, it's a song that we say when a Vaishnava passes, but it was really conveying the mood of Narottam Das Thakur, right? We've all sung Siye Anilo Premadana, Karuna Prachu, Eno Prabhu Kota Gela Acharya Thakur. So that first line, he's singing to Srinivasacharya, a contemporary of his. He asks, where is my Swarup Damodar and Rupa Goswami, who are his teachers, Rupa Goswami, and where is Sanatana? Where's Raghunath Das, the savior of the fallen? Where are my Raghunath Bhatta and Gopal Bhatta? And where is Krishna Das Kaviraj? Where did Lord Gauranga, the great dancer, suddenly go? I will smash my head against the rock and enter into the fire. Where will I find Lord Gauranga, the reservoir of all wonderful qualities? Being unable to obtain the association of Lord Gauranga, accompanied by all of these devotees, in whose association he performed his pastimes, Narottam Das simply weeps. So there is a sense that Narottam Das Thakur, I think, I know at a young age, had a vision of Lord Nityananda in a dream. I think he must have been 12 or so. Lord Nityananda in the dreams told him to bathe in the Padma River, and that from that bathing, he would receive love of Godhead. Now, Narottam Das Thakur is from a period where many of the Vaishnavas of this period had left, and he was still meeting with people. Lokanath Goswami is his guru, his Diksha guru, who instructed him to receive instruction from Jiva Goswami. But that mood of where have all these great people, where have they gone? Where is the great dancer Gauranga? I don't know if many of you feel, especially in New York, Adi Purush Prabhu has had the grace to be with Prabhupada and walk with him, but I can't tell you how many times I walk down the street in New York and think, Prabhupada walked here, or I wish that I sometimes I look far enough down the street, I could imagine him walking down the street or something like that on a winter day, like all those pictures that we see of him in his coat and his hat, maybe with a cane. There is a mood. The mood is that it's about continuity, about tradition, and that there's a difference between some people will see as innovation, adaptation, and some people will look at it as deviation. And some people say that this is a broken line. And when you look at people like Narottam Das Thakur, or look at like the Manipur tradition of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, we may look and see it's different, somehow it's changed, but you can tell that there's an essence there that's similar. And the reason why I read this particular bhajan of Narottam Das Thakur, that even though we sing it at the passing of a Vaishnava, but it conveys a mood that's reverential to the acharyas, to the Vaishnavas before us, the work that they've done. It's not just the work, it's just a strong affection for that love that they've given, the aspects of bhakti which they've been able to reel, this ever fresh understanding of this tradition. So I think when we talk about continuity, the academic term is hermeneutics. And so I remember I'm here at the hospital, and I'm a chaplain, so I work with other chaplains, and I asked them what are the fundamental principles of hermeneutics, what are the core aspects of it. And I think the answer is the same all the way through. We will say it's guru, it's sastra, and it's sadhu. Like, if we're going to continue a tradition, we're going to continue in the mood of Prabhupada, to speak of Narottam Das Thakur, who are our sources? What is the sastra? We all agree with the sastra for the most part. Though there can be like breaks, like in Christianity, they could have the Bible, but then the Mormons could have the Book of Mormon. So they introduce a new sastra. So it can become relative sometimes to some people. But I'll get back to that. I think just the main points are that Guru, Sastra, and Sadhu are fundamental elements for continuity, for us to understand a tradition and how it's been passed to us. And in the case of Prabhupada, we're very fortunate because he was able to give us Sastra in many languages for the first time in the history of this tradition. Well, the tradition, of course, we went from Sanskrit to regional languages like many Bhakti traditions. So there was Bengali, but now there's this huge like explosion of devotees around the world, an enormous explosion. And going into I would say that the one factor that I think that I would add to Guru, it's not I'm adding, I think it's essential, is that there is this aspect of our own agency and our own viveka, are able to make our own, we have to make some judgments of our own. I'm open to discuss this with anybody, but it's helpful to know a history. It's that you may want to understand your tradition, but understanding tradition in its context is also helpful. Like, for example, knowing that there is a Manipuri tradition, but knowing that, you know, there was a Gaudiya Math before ISKCON, not because you're going to say, oh, I'm going to go to, this is the original tradition. One of my friends says, I'm looking for the original tradition. And I don't think it's as simple as that. I think that it takes, that a Gaudiya tradition is a living tradition. It will adapt, Bhakti will adapt. And just look how it is in Manipur, it adapts. It takes on, even you see how they address the deities, it's different than how they would address the deities in Vrindavan Dham. It adapts. There has to be a line, of course. Should be a line drawn. But I think that it's helpful for every individual to have some type of way to agency, to look at the information that's laid out, the history that's there, and maybe also make an informed decision about that, whether you've made is this a deviation, or is this an adaptation, or is this divinely inspired? Sometimes there's no one can deny the impact of Srila Prabhupada's work. I've seen so many people, whether they stayed in ISKCON or left, they're all thankful to Srila Prabhupada, undeniably. Where would they be without him? Anyway, so there's about 5 minutes left. I wanted to leave a little time for questions, and there are more here. There are more of Pratana here, but if anybody has any thoughts or questions.
Shikshashtakam Prabhu, unmute yourself.
Hare Krishna. That was a very enlivening class as far as understanding the continuity of ISKCON goes. I was reading Bhaktivigyan Goswami talked about how after Lord Chaitanya left, there was some kind of discord within the society, and everybody was going in different directions. And Janava Mata, the Lord Nityananda's wife, arranged a festival at Katuri in which all of the books of Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami, and Jiva Goswami to this festival, and established a unity within that period of time, which is kind of corresponding to our time right now in ISKCON. So I thought it was kind of interesting that yesterday, I think, ISKCON allowed female Vaishnavis to become Diksha Gurus. So I thought that you know, if Janava Mata can do it, it's not the ISKCON Guru, but a leader in ISKCON. Anyone can participate. That is Lord Chaitanya's message, because it is all inclusive. Lord Chaitanya didn't care about bodily designations as far as your ability to lead. Like, look at Haridas Thakur. So I think that's really important understanding to get all of the links in the chain and allow everyone to participate. And I think it's a long time coming, but I kind of applaud that. It's just my humble opinion.
Thank you, Shastra Prabhu. I thank you for that. Yeah, it is encouraging to see an inclusiveness and an open-mindedness, though it's not as simple as that. There's still some barriers there, some walls. But I think there was recently a discussion about like in the inherence of bhakti in the soul became like a bit of a debate. And this is somewhat disconnected, but the main point is that I would applaud the ability to keep the discourse going. If you agree or disagree, you can have that discussion. And sometimes just people don't want to have the discussion. Sometimes you think like people talk about, say, this is not a fairly recent, but old debate about the fall of the jiva. Some people are like, it doesn't matter. Why do we care about that? And that's true for many people. They don't, but there's a lot of people that will continue that discussion. It's been almost the same discussion, like the Mayavadis versus Vedanta discussion, Dvaita versus Vishishta Dvaita versus Chinta Veda Veda. We still have these discussions today. They'll continue. But as far as like the continuity of our communities, yeah, it's really helpful, I think, especially now, to have healthy discussions where people can see people discussing it in a cordial way and accept that. It's just as examples.
Okay. Does anybody else have a comment or reflection? Something that they liked that Kula Pradipa Prabhu said? I really like the story how Kula Pradipa got into Jagannath Puri temple. That was very sneaky.
If you're Asian, I see a Kiko's on. Keep that in mind.
Yeah. Yeah. You can go to
For the tip.
Jagannath Puri temple. You can
What's
become
that?
the guru. Kiko.
I think my strategy was to wait, because the next time I went there, like they picked me out almost immediately. I didn't try. I was just out on the main road. I think next time, if there's a group of Manipuri devotees, I'd like to join the group so I don't have to feel so worried. Just relax a little.
And what if you got caught? What would happen if they caught you?
Well, the stories I'd been told since I was a bhakta living at the temple, they said that if you got caught, they'd beat you. Just take you out. They say in New York, take you out back and roll you. So, and then they would probably beat me with a stick and, until I ran away very far. And yeah, that's how I felt. My legs were shaking. I was quite nervous, actually. Yeah. I was young also and stupid, so I guess I wasn't that scared, maybe.
Okay. Yeah, on the chat board, everybody appreciates your visuals. Really nice pictures. I don't know where you got them. Really good.
I should give credit. I'm sorry I didn't put the credit on there, but I will. I can't share it now. I'm sorry. But yeah, there was somebody who did just a visit to the temple, and it was nice photos. So I just borrowed from there. Sorry, I should have given credit. Sorry, that was very irresponsible in this day and age.
Just want to say thanks, Kula, Shamunajaya. Thank you so much. It was like going to a museum this morning with the pictures. It was very lovely. And you had me on the edge of my seat with the Jagannath Puri story. I was like, well, Kula, don't do it. but do it. So thank you so much. I've never heard of anybody who's actually gotten in like that. So thank you so much for sharing.
You're welcome. Thank you. I did immediately feel, after I did it, there was a rush, like I was like wow, I did it. I thought about it before, even as the bhakta. I was like, well, maybe I could do this. But then I felt guilt, because my Guru Maharaj he's from, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He's European descent. He was never allowed. He has never been allowed into the temple, and many devotees have not been allowed. Many great devotees have not been allowed, and that made me very sad, actually, and maybe a little angry as a young man. I was like, this is racism. I was so angry. Because the truth is, they'll probably let in. They'll say no, non-Hindus are allowed. You can't come in if you're non-Hindu, but they don't mean non-Hindu, because it just means non-Indian, because if you were Indian, you could be a Jain, you could be Buddhist or Muslim, they wouldn't question you, you just walk in. But once they see your skin or they see something about you, you're not allowed. I've let that go, though. I was angry as a younger man. And I was like, I don't know if I want to go back. But now I have a very strong desire to go back to Puri. Especially because I've been reading the CC a lot and listening to the CC a lot. And almost from Madhya Lila to Antya Lila is all Puri. So much Chaitanya, so much pastimes in Puri. And it's not just, Jagannath Puri, Jagannath is the inspiration, no doubt. But there's Gambhira, there's all these different, very intimate places for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Puri. Tota Gopinath, and I look forward to going back again one day.
Good. Okay, thank you very much, Kula Pradipa Prabhu. Very captivating class. Thank you everyone for contributing to this class. We'll see you all back tomorrow. So this class is every day, like eating is every day, sleeping is every day, and so is Srimad-Bhagavatam class every day. Kula Pradipa Prabhu, thank you very much. Good luck with sneaking back in the Jagannath Puri temple.
Yes,
Done.
Thank you. I'll keep trying.
Okay, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you so much.